history, amen. So at this time, I'm going to call, amen, one of our youth, amen, to give us a poem at this time, and that is Sister Gabby, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sister Gabby. Amen. At this time, we will have 4 of our youth to come up, amen, and give us a moment in Black history. Our first youth will be Brother Justin Ford.
Amen.
Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was born on July the 18th, 1918. He was born in a village called, it's an African name, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it, in South Africa. His mother's name was also African, and his father's name was also African. Those were just a few facts about the small things. He was not just an inspiration in Africa, but to the world. You all may know him as the first African president. He was more. That is why I'm going to tell you people about him. It all started in South Africa. The Caucasians were in charge of the blacks. They had racist laws all over South Africa. They had to pay taxes while the whites did not. If they did not pay what they were supposed to pay, then they either went to jail or got killed. Nelson Mandela started to protest against the whites. He did marches and more. One day, he was sent to jail because the whites thought he committed murder, assault, and even drug dealing. None of those were true. The name of the prison was called Robben Island. All they did was judge him by the color of his skin. After he served his sentence, wasn't really a full sentence in jail, he became the first African president of South Africa. He changed some of the laws. Throughout his life, he faced racism because of the color of his skin and culture. Once he became president, once he became president, he helped his people. He did not just change South Africa, he changed the world.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Justin, amen, for telling us wonderful information, amen, about Nelson Mandela, amen. At this time, we're going to have Brother Jamal Sanford come with his moment in Black history, amen.
My puppet is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929. At the time, in that part of the country, the separation of races in places like schools, buses, and restaurants was the law. He had been racial prejudice from the time he was very young, which inspired him to dedicate his life to achieve equality and justice for Americans of all colors. King believed that people refusal to obey unjust laws was the best way to bring about cultural change. Because of people like Martin Luther King Jr., we are no longer celebrate. In one of his quotes, he said, "Darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate can drive out hate. Only love can do that." He also had his family speech, "I have the dream."
Excellent job, Brother Jamal. Amen. Amen. That was awesome. Amen. Amen. That was awesome, Jamal.
That's good. That's right.
Next, we will have Sister Shyla, amen, with her moment in Black history. Give her God bless you as she comes, amen.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I will be doing Wendell Cotton. On this date in 1922, Wendell Cotton was born. He was an African-American dentist and community activist and the first black orthodontist to open a private practice west of the Mississippi. From North Little Rock, Arkansas, Wendell Napoleon Cotton was the only child of Jewel Cotton. He did not know his father's name until his mother told him just prior to her death in 1972. His favorite pastime was reading the dictionary. As a result of his early devotion to the sounds and meanings of words, his mastery of the English language opened many doors of opportunity for him throughout his life. Cotton graduated from Dunmore High School in North Little Rock, Arkansas in 1936. His choice for college was West Virginia State College, where he graduated in 1942 with a major in psychology. It was at West Virginia State College that Wendell met his wife of 65 years, Lurleen Elizabeth Pearson, from Charleston, South Carolina. The two had 2 children. Gail was born in 1944 and Wendell Pearson born in 1947. Cotton served in World War II after graduation from Virginia State, entering the Army Air Corps with fellow West Virginia State graduate in Tuskegee Airmen. Both were stationed at Tuskegee briefly in December of 1942. Cotton graduated from orthodontic school in 1949 and opened his office in Oakland, California, becoming the first black orthodontist to open a private practice west of the Mississippi River. 8 years later, Dr. Cotton relocated his practice and family to Los Angeles in 1957. In 1963, Cotton moved his practice to California, a small town beneficial for him and his wife until he retired in 1984. Throughout those years, the Cottons were involved in the NAACP March with Jackie Robinson and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and provided inspiration for his children and all those that knew them. In 1986, the Cottons moved to Dallas, Texas. It did not take them long to start another career in modeling, TV commercial work, and extras on several Dallas television shows and movies. Failing health in 2005 caused the Cottons to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia. Wendell Cotton died in February 2008, 9 days shy of his 86th birthday. He was given a full Tuskegee Airman funeral.
Thank you, Sister Shyla. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for some wonderful information this morning. Amen. Next, we
Amen.
will have Sister Amaya Ford with her moment in Black history.
I'm gonna be doing my thing over Emmett Till.
Right.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows who he is already, but if not, I can tell you. So, he was born 41 on July 5th to Mamie and Louis Till. And 14 years later, his cousins decided that they wanted him to come down to Mississippi to stay a few weeks with them during the summer. But his mom wasn't so sure about him going because he wasn't used to the southern life. Before he left, his mom told him that he needed to act a certain way when he went down there because being up north and being in the south is completely different. So she told him a few things. For example, that if he was walking on the sidewalk and he sees either a white person, a white woman, or a white man, that he needs to step off the sidewalk and don't make eye contact with them. And before he left, his mom gave him a ring that his dad gave her. He didn't really know his dad like that. And when he was down there, he learned how to pick cotton and do other things with his cousins. And then one day when they were hot, they decided to go down to a store. And as the lady was coming out, Emmett whistled at the white lady. And all his cousins and Emmett decided to leave. And a few days later, 2 white men showed up to their house and kidnapped Emmett and beat him and tied a cotton gin around his neck with barbed wire and threw him in the Mississippi River. And a few days later, he was found by 2 white boys fishing in the river. And they decided to have a funeral the next day. And then his mom stopped the car and stopped the funeral. Because she wanted to see the body. So she shipped his body up north to where she was, and decided to have an open casket funeral for everybody to see. And then a whole bunch of people came to his funeral, and they was taking pictures of him, and they put him in Jet magazine. And a year or 2 later, they had a trial, and it only lasted about a day. And the 2 white men only got charged for kidnapping and not murder. Wow. And I think it was last year they found out that the lady had lied about him touching her in the store. And it was too late now because they all did it.
Right.
So.
That's right. Amen.
Amen. Wonderful, Sister Maya. Amen. Me and Pastor were talking this morning, and it's just very important that we teach our youth our history and let them know that these things still can happen. Racism is still going on. Amen.
Amen.
So we just need to be aware. Amen. Amen. Lastly, for our moment in Black History, amen, we will have Sister Jemiah Butts. Amen.
Good morning. For my Black history, I was going to talk about Ruby Bridges, the first African-American child to attend all-white elementary school.
Yes.
But I'm reminded that we have Black history here at GLO.
All right.
Our founders, First Lady, and Ministries.
Are you right?
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo,
Yes.
First Lady Bruce Hayes was born on January 31st, 1951, to Frank Gibbons and Alex Dennis in Holy Hill, South Carolina. As the eldest sister of 7 children, she learned many motherly tasks early in her life. God used this as the foundation for the ministry gift that He would birth inside of her. At the early age of Lady Hayes left South Carolina and moved to Brooklyn, New York, with her mother blessing to guide her future. After moving to New York, she married her childhood sweetheart, Jerry Hayes. In 1978, they had 4 children, Jeffrey, Wendy, Miranda, and Natasha. She later joined the One Accord Church in Brooklyn, New York, and received the gift of the Holy Ghost. Her dedication and commitment to the Lord won her husband to Christ in just 2 short months. After she received salvation after faithful service to her church in New York, for many years, God promoted both she and her husband to assist pastors of the Body of Christ the Living Church located in Millersville, Georgia, which is here. In 1996, when she got there, she fell in love with the people and vowed to be a mother to them and love them like her own children.
That's right.
Yes.
The ministry began to flourish, but God wasn't finished with blessing the work of her hands. God connected her to a very special family, Dr. Stanton and Cindy, I don't know the last name, and their children. God gave her a favor with them, and throughout them, He blessed her tremendously. She referred to youngest GLO as her sweet little Jewish baby. Shortly after this encounter, God elevated First Lady Hayes and her husband, Bishop Jerry Hayes, for the fine church. One day, God spoke to First Lady Hayes and instructed her to name the ministry Greater Love Outreach Ministry. It was born under the overseer of Apostle Michael Gorn and Dr. Louise Gorn. She loved her bishop and shared a special bond with Dr. Louise Gorn. She was so proud and blessed to be a part of Outreach Family Fellowship. Although First Lady Hayes loved her spiritual family, she had unwavering love for her natural family as well. She was the glue and heart of her family. To know her was to love her. She opened her home to many of them, and she was a mother to all.
Yes, yes.
First Lady Hayes and Bishop Hayes was the first to lead a prayer walk throughout the city of Millersville.
Yes.
She was a member of the Women of Unity of Baldwin County, and she was the founder of the City First Hope Parade. She has loved a legacy of greatness and loving memories with her husband. She has loved a legacy of greatness and loving memories with her children, Jeffrey, Wendy, Miranda, and Natasha. Her 4 grandchildren, 1 great-grand, her godchildren, her Jewish baby, her brothers and sisters, and others.
Amen.
Truly, amen. We made a lot of historic moments, amen.
Yes.
We started a lot of things, amen. I think we had about the first praise team here, amen. Everybody else was doing the congregational songs, amen. But we started the praise team, amen.
Amen.
And choirs, amen. But we branched out, amen, and started a praise team, amen.
Amen.
That we got from our leaders in South Carolina, amen.
Amen.
Amen. So, amen, we definitely don't want to forget about, amen, our founders.
Yes.
Amen. And lastly, amen, we just have a little skit, amen, that our youth will be presenting on today. So, youth, would you come forward, amen, at this time?
Amen. Let's bear with it. Our youth been working mighty hard. Let's support them. Amen. 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 Hallelujah.
Throughout history, our people have been blessed with strong, brave, wise children. Come visit a few of them with me. Our first guest was born into slavery in 1818. Join me in welcoming Harriet Ross Tubman.
Like most children, I love sweets. Once and I was sent away from a job because I helped myself to one of these little sugar cubes.
At the age of 31, Harriet Tubman ran away. She went alone because her husband refused to risk running away. On the way to Philadelphia, she found people who were willing to help an escaped slave. Some hid Harriet in their wagons or homes. Others gave her food and supplies. Each helper would tell her where she could go to find the next helper. Since these helpers had to hide what they were doing, they were called the Underground Railroad. After Harriet Tubman reached freedom, she wanted to help others escape. She made 19 trips back and forth on the Underground Railroad, bringing others out of slavery. During the Civil War, she enlisted as a nurse to help the sick and injured soldiers.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Now let's welcome Thurgood Marshall. His grandfather was a slave, but his parents were free. Thurgood Marshall's daddy made him write the Constitution as a punishment for his misbehaviors. Maybe that's why he grew up to study law. He helped end segregation in schools, and he became the first African-American Supreme Court Justice.
I like being in class calm, but I always got calm because mom was a school teacher.
The United States Congress designated our next guest as the mother of the modern-day civil rights movement. Join me in welcoming Rosa Parks.
They always say I was a quiet child, but I did know how to stand up for myself. I also know how to remain seated.
On the 1st of December, 1955, Rosa and 4 other people were sitting in the beginning seats of the black section of the bus. When more white people climbed in the bus, the driver moved the board back and asked these 4 to get up. 3 of the black people moved back, but Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. The driver called the police and had her arrested. This began a 381-day bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. This successful protest led to a Supreme Court ruling against segregation on November 13, 1956. Our next guest is the man with the dream, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
This is how I learned about discrimination. When I was 5 years old, I often played baseball with our neighbor's sons. One day, I went to the house to see if they could come out to play. Their mother told me that I could not play with her sons anymore because I am black and they are white.
Dr. King led the boycott of the segregated buses, which was started by Rosa Parks. He became the leader of a movement that destroyed the legal practice of racial segregation. While he taught and practiced nonviolence, violence was often used against him. He was assassinated in 1968. The names of many of the brave children who fought for our rights are not found in our history books. For example, volunteers, including a group of about 2,500 students, protests began what is known as the Birmingham Campaign, with nonviolence, sit-ins, and marches. More than 900 children between the ages of 6 and 18 were arrested. The Birmingham Campaign was one of the events which convinced President Kennedy to act on civil rights issues. This helped bring about the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned discrimination in employment and public accommodation.
Trouble in my way.
Trouble in my way.
I had to fight sometime.
I had to fight sometime.
Trouble in my way.
Trouble in my way.
I had to fight sometime.
I had to fight sometime.
I lay awake at night.
I lay awake at night.
But that's alright.
Yeah, that's alright.
Jesus, you will.
Jesus, He will fix it.
After a while.
Wow.
Black Americans have made spectacular achievement in science, medicine, and agriculture. One outstanding example is our next guest, George Washington Carver. George was born of slave parents in 1864 in Diamond Grove, Missouri. A sickly child at birth, he will remain frail for most of his childhood. One night, a band of raiders attacked his family and stole George and his mother. Days later, George was found unharmed by neighbors and was traded back to his owner in exchange for a racehorse. Because of his frailty, George was not suited for work in the fields, but he did possess a great interest in plants and was very eager to learn more about them. Here on the farm is where George first fell in love with plants and Mother Nature.
I guess I needed someone to listen, so I started talking to the plants in our garden. They must have shared some secrets with me because I went on to invent peanut butter and almost 300 other useful things that we can do with a peanut.
Our next guest is the first African American woman to travel in a space shuttle. Welcome Mae Jemison, chemical engineer, scientist, physician, teacher, and astronaut. Dr. Mae has a wide range of experience in technology, engineering, and medical research. In addition to her extensive background in science, she is well versed in African and African American studies, speaks fluent Russian, Japanese, and Swahili, as well as English, and is trained in dance and choreography.
I am inspired by Martin Luther King Jr., but too many kings' dream wasn't an elusive fantasy, but a call to action. Too often people paint like Santa, smiley and inoffensive, but when I think of Martin Luther King, I think of attitude, audacity, and bravery. I think the civil rights movement was all about breaking down barriers and potential. The best way to make dreams come true is to wake up. That's right.
Next, we have just a few of the many African Americans who have made extensive contribution to music, sports, and the arts.
My childhood was filled with love and support from my mother, father, and my entire family. They motivated me to think nothing was impossible when the sky is the limit. I grew up to become a musician. My name is Duke Ellington.
In my works, I celebrated ordinary African American people who did ordinary everyday things. My grandmother, Mary Patterson Winston, often sat me in her lap and told me stories about the abolitionists and courageous slaves who struggled for their freedom. Her tales impressed me with nobility for black people and the importance of stoicism and even laughter. Her tales made me who I am today. Winston Hughes.
Amen.
Our next guest was number 20 of the 22 Rudolph children. Wilma was always a sickly child, and at the age of 4, the polio virus took away the ability to use her legs. When the doctors told her family that she would never walk again, they refused to be limited by that message. Wilma's mom took her on a 50-mile bus ride twice weekly for physical therapy, and there were plenty of brothers and sisters to help with the leg massages she needed 4 times each day. I think those doctors were very surprised to hear that Wilma Rudolph, the poor little black girl they said was crippled for life, became the first African-American woman to win 3 gold Olympic medals. Meet Wilma Rudolph, who knows the value of family.
When you come from a large, wonderful family, there's always a way to achieve your goals. My family helped me trade my leg brace for track shoes.
Adults, we salute you for your role in supporting and loving the children in your lives. And children, we salute you as you march boldly into the future. You are our inspiration. Please join us as we sing in honor of Black History Month, Lift Every Voice.
Amen. That concludes, amen, our moment in Black History on today. Please give our youth, amen, a round of